Hello friends, welcome to my channel Q Analysis, and today I am going to present you ETL for Testers webinar. This is the second part to the existing seminar which I had last week, wherein I presented my webinar session on ETL concepts and what exactly is ETL. If you haven't seen it yet, please, I'll recommend you to go through that webinar first and then come to this one. So it will help you to understand the ETL concepts better, and then you can understand the role of tester and how testing is performed in ETL. Okay, so let's begin with our today's presentation, and here we go. So to start our today's webinar, I have this cartoon strip for you, Dilbert, one of my favorites. So you see, they're talking about user data being collected or user behavior information that is being collected. We have a gigantic database full of customer behavior and how they can use it with respect to nonlinear mathematics, algos, data mining technology in order to optimize retail channels. But if it is not done correctly, or if it is not tested correctly, if there is a flaw in your system, then ultimately you will have something like this. Same thing as a spam. Okay, friends. So I believe having just a system is not going to work. You need to have a foolproof system which is thoroughly tested and working fine. That is the whole motto which we are going to cover in our today's webinar. So here we go. To start this presentation first, I'll give a brief overview about the ETL for all those who haven't seen my previous webinar, just to bring them at the same page. Let's go and have a quick recap of ETL. So here you see we have a complete model showing ETL working system. And the extreme left, we have a few data sources, which are operational systems, ERP, CRM, SQL, flat file, spreadsheets, or any kind of data sheets. Next to that, we have ETL, which is extract, transform, and loading system, which includes data validation, data cleaning, data transformation, data aggregation, and data loading. Then we have the data warehouse, which consists of data marts. And finally, we have OLAP analysis, data mining, data visualization, data reports, dashboards, and alerts. So ETL is nothing whereas it is a system where we can have extraction, load, and transformation taking place from source till target on data, right? And this data at source is collected via operational systems, ERP, CRM, SQL, or it can be any kind of system. Now, once we have the input data with us, that is validated, the process of cleaning is performed, and then data transformation is done. Also, data aggregation and data loading is done. When I say data loading, the loading of data from production users or the users for production or from all this extreme-led system, the data is taken and it is loaded into data warehouse, and a small subset it is loaded into data marts. And from data mart, we perform different kind of analytical processing or data mining or data visualization. We present different kind of BI reports, dashboards, and alerts, which is then used by the final business users for their decision-making abilities or for making different kind of business-related decisions or finding out the behavior of users or making any kind of management-related decisions. So this exactly is the whole architecture. If you want to know the detail about it, please feel free to watch my previous presentation of ETL. You can find the link in the details. Also, I'll share the link here as well. So feel free to watch it. Now, when we know what exactly is ETL, now we want to know the ETL testing process. How exactly ETL is tested and what is the process involved in ETL testing? In order to know the ETL testing process, we need to understand the challenges which we face while testing ETL. So before moving ahead toward the process, we'll see the challenges. And I have listed a few challenges for you. Here are the first one. Here's the first one. Data loss during the ETL process, incorrect, incomplete, and duplicate data. So whenever data is transferred, we know there is a source and target and different systems, and during the transfer of data, loading of data, or during the whole of the process, extraction, loading, or transfer of data, there could be data, loss of data due to incorrect data, loss of data due to incomplete data, or loss of data due to duplicate data duplication. So this is the first one. Second, historical data volume is so large and extremely complex to perform ETL testing in target system. Generally, when we have data, it is very huge in size because we have the current data plus the historical set of data, and thus it becomes very huge in size, and hence to perform testing in the target system becomes very, very complex. ETL testers are not provided the access to see job schedules in the ETL tool. They hardly have access to the BI reporting tool to see the final layout of the report and data inside the report. So if you don't have the access to the final report, it becomes very hard for you to understand if the final output is as per the expectation. And we know as a part of testing, actual and expected results should match. If at all there is any kind of deviation, then we say it is buggy or not up to the mark. So that is also one of the problems or challenges. Tough to generate and build test cases as data volume is too high and complex. If we have a very huge set of data volume and complex data volume, it becomes pretty hard to generate test cases. And ETL testers normally don't have an idea of end user report requirement and business flow of the information. So as a tester, they are more confined toward the technology side, and they know how exactly server is working, how the process of extraction, mining, or loading, or different kind of data cleaning, different kind of techniques which are involved. I'll talk more about those techniques, but all of them are technology-related stuff, testing-related stuff, and very less oriented toward the business. So ETL testers normally don't have an idea about the end user report requirement and the business flow of the information. ETL testing involves various complex SQL concepts for data validation in the target system. But of course, if data volume is high, you need to have various complex SQL concepts coming into picture. Sometimes the testers are not allowed to provide, sometimes testers are not provided with the source to target mapping information. So if you don't have the source to target mapping information, it becomes very hard for you to understand from where you are taking what information and where it is going to be mapped, where it is going to be saved. So what is end-to-end workflow? It becomes a little complex thing. Unstable testing environment delay the developmental testing process. Since the input of data volumes keeps on coming on regular basis, on a day-to-day basis, like you have a system which is very vast and you have millions of users. So every second, every minute, you have large amount of data coming into picture. Because of that, the testing environment or the production or the development environment has to undergo a lot of changes on daily basis, and hence development and testing becomes a very complex process. So these are the challenges mainly for the ETL testers, and I believe ETL developers, they also face more or less the same kind of challenges. So here we have the framework of ETL system, what we discussed in our previous, something on the same lines we discussed in our previous slide, but again, I'll give a little bit of testing overview in this framework. So you see we have data feed on the extreme left, flat files, operation system, and external data. And you see there is a green dot which talks about the automated and synchronous testing techniques being involved. So data feed, it can be fed to ETL system, extraction, loading, extraction, transformation, and loading thing. It can be done via automation and via synchronous methods. Then we have this landing area wherein data is loaded from ETL system. That also can be automated and synchronous. Post to that, we have input data wherein data cleansing is performed. And after cleansing, the data is matched and sent back to the landing area. This also is automated. And this also can be automated and synchronous. And when we have this data cleansing thing, it goes to the matrix and the exception. And if at all we have any exception, they are under exceptions area. From there, exceptions are being handled by the developers, sent back to the data cleansing area. Again, from data cleansing, matrices are prepared, data information is taken, and information is then reported into BI reports. And this BI reports is then manually, that is manual and synchronous, This BI reports is then manually handled, and then it is done in a synchronous manner, and BI reports are generated or analytical reports are generated. Meanwhile, from the landing area, the whole of the data is going back to ETL again, and from ETL it is transferred to integrated customer database for future use. Or historic, it acts as a historic data so that it can be used in future. So these are the different kind of areas where exactly data is landing, or exactly the data is transferring from source to destination in this way, while we have a ETL system in place. And we have seen the manual and automation task, or the manual automation workflow that can take place in ETL system with respect to the data. I'll discuss more about the automation and manual testing, what kind of the automation testing can be done and how it is done, what kind of tools we can use for manual automation testing, and how exactly manual testing is done, and what are different kind of manual testing techniques for testing ETL. I'll just go ahead and discuss it in detail in my upcoming slides. Upstream data issues, timelines and accuracy of data, security of data, history of data and its maintenance, and availability of data and decision. These are the 5 pillars which are used for ETL testing process. Now, ETL testing process, like any other testing process, is based upon validation and verification methodologies. And then end-to-end, everything should be fine, and whatever is expected and actually that should be will be just alike without any kind of deviation. So more or less, ETL testing process is same like any other process, but we have 5 pillars for ETL testing. These are upstream data issues, timelines and accuracy of the data, security of the data, history of the data, and its maintenance and availability of the databases. Now, ETL testing is performed to ensure that the data has been loaded from the sources to destination after business transformation is accurate. It also involves the verification of data at various middle stages between the source and the destination. So let's talk in detail about these 5 pillars. Upstream and data issues. So we know we have the source wherein data is loaded into the source, from where ETL takes in the data input. So we can have certain issues at the upstream data, and then whatever data is provided, we have to stick to the timelines and the accuracy of the data, whether how much accurate the data is, so that has to be verified. And then data throughout this process, from source till end, when it is extracted, loaded, or transformed, the data has to be secure. Data security and privacy is the much talked about thing right now in the market. So everybody has to keep their data secure and private. And then history of data and its maintenance, as we have seen in the previous slide, on daily basis we get a large volume of data, huge volume of data, and that data becomes historic data. So that how that historic data is to be maintained, and it should be safe and should be manageable. And last, the availability of data for the decision. We have seen that once we have the data and right kind of information pointers and matrices, depending on that, BI reports are being produced. So the data should be available for the decision. Depending on these results, these reports, decisions are taken. So these are the 5 pillars. These are the 5 bases which we are going to use as a part of ETL testing process. And I'll discuss it in detail, all those techniques and process in my upcoming slide. Now, if you are planning to be a tester, that too in ETL field, you need to have certain kind of skills. So skills required for ETL testing. I'll talk about these skill sets, which any person, any guy, girl, whosoever is interested, or any tester who is interested to get into this ETL testing field, they have to develop such kind of a skill set in them. Then only they can become an efficient and a good ETL tester. First, understanding the data that is used for reporting. They should have a good understanding of the data that is being user data, which is coming from different kind of sources. I've shown you operational system and different kind of data sources. What are the data sources? SQL, so flat files. So you should understand the data that is to be used for reporting. Review the data model. You should understand what exactly data model is used in your ETL system. And then source to target mapping, how exactly source to target mapping is done, which data will be mapped into which field, so how exactly the mapping is being done. And then data checks on the source data. There are different kind of checks to be performed, validations to be performed on the source data, just so as to ensure the data is accurate, perfect, and secure, and you're taking the useful data as your input. Performance testing on the data, you should also be aware since the volume is too high, there shouldn't be any performance issue with respect to the whole ETL system. So performance testing on data is very important. You should be aware of the performance testing on data, how exactly you do performance testing. I will talk in detail about in my upcoming slides. Package and schema validations. You should know what kind of a schema is used, or what kind of packages are used in part of ETL. So you should be aware of that. Data verification in target system. Up till the point when data is inside the source system, okay, fine. But it is not necessary that the data which is present in the source system, which is extracted, loaded, transformed, and loaded into target system, it is same, right? We may have certain issues because of which the data might get corrupted or it is not a useful data when it comes to the target system. So you should be able to understand that as well, know and verify that kind of things as well. Data verification at the target system, data integrity and quality checks in the target system. You should be able to verify the integrity and quality of data in the target system, verification on data transformation, calculation, and aggregation rules, what kind of aggregation rules and calculations that have been used as part of transformation. You should be able to verify it. Sample data comparison between the source and the target system. Whenever you use dummy data or sample data between source and target, you should know, okay, with the dummy data, this is what is the expected output, and you should be able to play with that sample data so as to be aware that end-to-end flow is working fine and everything looks okay. So these are the kind of skill sets. If you want to be a ETL tester and want to grow in the field of ETL testing, you have to work upon these skill sets, and then only you'll become a perfect candidate for ETL testing. Okay, friends? Now, let's talk about end-to-end testing of data stream throughout the data lifecycle. So you see, we have in the extreme left source data, which I already talked about, different kind of input sources, flat files, SQLs, or business apps through which you're getting your source data. So your first entry point would be over there at the source data to validate the source data information, how exactly the data is collected, and the kind of quality of data, accuracy of data, usefulness of the data, integrity, and all kind of data information, performance of the data. Everything has to be verified. Then you have ETL process taking place, which includes extraction, transformation, and loading. In turn, they have a lot many process involved, cleaning, transformation, so many things which we already well discussed in my previous slides and in the recap thing. So ETL process is taking place, and while this whole data is ETL, why ETL process, this whole data is processed, it is stored in data marts inside the data warehouse. So again, that is the enter point. Over there also may be any kind of data warehouse based upon Oracle, Teradata, Pure Data, Sybase, Astrodata, MySQL, whatever it is. Over there also you have to go and validate and verify the data quality, check its accuracy, and the different kind of performance checks. You have to do that. From there, again, data is taken out to data mart by ETL process, which is stored inside the data warehouse. So data should be validated over there itself, and you also have a test entry point at data mart level. And finally, from data mart, again, we perform the ETL process, which includes extraction, transformation, and loading, and extracting the right kind of information, which will be then used for BI analytics and reporting. So the reports or analytics or BI information which is extracted, this is the target one. So over at the target, we have test entry point, and validation and testing needs to be performed. So you can see end-to-end testing of data stream throughout the data lifecycle, and how exactly we have different test entry points through which we can enter into the ETL system, enter into the data warehouse system, and go ahead and try to figure out how can we test it and where we can test. Okay. Now let's talk about the different kind of testing techniques that can be used as a part of ETL testing. So friends, time to time I keep on making slides. I keep on sharing my videos over LinkedIn or maybe in the channel, my channel Q analysis. I hope all of you might be subscribed to this channel who are viewing me here. If you haven't subscribed it till now, please feel free to subscribe. And do let me know in comment section that what kind of new topics you want to learn. I'll come up with the videos, presentation, and webinar on those topics as well. And you can ask me any kind of questions time to time upon any of the topic. Just go ahead and add a question to the topic. or the video comment section. I'll go ahead and try to answer it. So the idea over here is to understand everything regarding ETL. And my last presentation, it was about 40 minutes and it became too long. So I decided to come up with a new presentation. And here we are with the next presentation. This is mainly focusing upon the testing process and the role and responsibilities of testers, testing techniques, and how exactly we do ETL testing. So this is the reason I have prepared the second webinar. I hope it will help you. So let's go ahead and see what are the ETL testing techniques. Production validation technique. So production validation testing is something that is used to perform analytical reporting and analysis. The data in your production should be correct, that is verified. This testing is done on the data that is moved to the production system. It involves data validation in the production system and comparing it with the source data. So whatever source data you have, and then whatever data you have it in production, they both are validated. So whenever your data is moved to the production system, it has to be validated, and that kind of testing is known as production validation testing. Source to target count testing. This type of testing is done when the tester has less time to perform the testing operation. When the tester is having less amount of time, he can go ahead and source to target count testing just by counting the numbers and not going to the data in detail. It involves the checking of the count of the data in the source and target system. Like, okay, in source system and target system, the amount of data or the number of data in source and in rows and columns, or whatever data has been entered in source and target, it is matching. Okay, source to target counting testing is done. Something on those lines. It does not involve the checking of values in the data because time is less. And it also does not involve data that is in ascending or descending or after mapping of the data. Whether the data is in ascending order or descending order, that is not verified. It is done on a very quick basis just to verify that, okay, this was the quantity of information I had in source, and this is the quantity of information which I have in target. Number of rows and columns, they look okay for this amount of data, and the same amount of data is over here. So I guess more or less it looks okay. This kind of testing is known as source to target count testing. Then we have source to target data testing. In this type of testing, tester validates data values from source to target system. So in the previous one, we just verify the count. Over here, we verify the data individually. It checks the data values in the source system and the corresponding value in the target system after the transformation. This type of testing, but always will be time consuming and is normally performed in financial and banking projects where you have a very high requirement of data accuracy and data should be properly mapped. So not only counting, whereas the data, exact data value which is present in source and target, that needs to be verified, and that is done using source to target data testing, and it takes a lot of time. Then we have threshold value validation testing. When I say threshold value validation testing, in this type of testing, a tester validates the range of data. All the threshold values in the target system are checked if they are as per the expected result. So in the target system, whatever kind of expected results you have, you keep on checking it. It also involves the integration of data in the target system from multiple sources systems after transformation and loading. So threshold value validation is done from source to target, mainly at the target after the integration coming from the integration of data coming from the multiple source system after transformation and loading, and it validates the range of data. We have application migration testing. In application migration testing technique, normally it is performed automatically when you move from an old application to a new application system. Whenever you migrate from an old application to a new system, application migration testing is performed, and it is done via automation. This testing saves a lot of time. It checks if data is extracted from an old application same as for the data in the new application system. So whatever data it was present in the old application system, it is getting converted into a new application. So it is verified. For example, you are changing all characters into, let's say you're changing all numeric into alphanumeric. So everything integer float is getting converted into cars, some characters, something like that. So in source it was numbers, and over here everything is alphanumeric characters. So that will be verified. And it is mainly done by automation because it is a very long process, and since there's a migration of application from one application to other application, so end-to-end testing is to be performed. Data check and constant testing. It includes performing various checks such as data type check, data length check, index and constant check. For example, checking primary key, foreign key, not null, null and unique constants. This is also known as metadata testing. Data about data is known as metadata. So you want to check whether your data is having right kind of constants, it is having right kind of checks, data length, index, and everything is fine. So this kind of testing is known as metadata testing. Duplicate data check testing. So as the name itself is saying, this testing involves checking out duplicate data in the target system. When there is a huge amount of data in the target system, it is possible that there might be some duplicate data in production system that might result into incorrect data in the analytical reports. So if we have some duplicate data in the production because of that, even our target will have a lot of duplication data. So we need to verify the duplicate data is not present, or else it will impact the analytical reports or BI reports, or the outcome will be impacted. So such kind of testing is known as duplicate data testing. Duplicate data appears in the target system due to the following reasons. If no primary key is identified, if no primary key is defined, then duplicate values may occur due to incorrect mapping of the environment, incorrect mapping of the environmental issue, error while transferring data from source to target system. Because of any of this, duplicate data can be seen inside the system, and as a tester you need to figure out the way to find out duplicate data and check it, test it, and eradicate it from the system. Incremental testing. This testing is done to check the data integrity of old and the new data with the addition of new data. Incremental testing verifies that the inserts and updates are getting processed as expected during the incremental ETL process. Now, ETL process is most of the time is an incremental process, because time to time, people, if you have a lot number of users, then your source will always be burdened with a huge amount of data. If your data is huge amount of data, it is coming time to time to you. In that case, incremental testing is a very good way of testing it, wherein you see the new inserts and updates taking place in the ETL system, and they are working in fine. All the new data which is added or updated is in integrity with the old one. So this kind of testing is known as incremental testing. Data completeness testing. Now, data completeness testing is done to verify that all the expected data is loaded in target from the source, and data completeness testing is done. And some of the tests that can be done are compare and validate counts, aggregates, and actual data between the source and target with columns for the simple transformation or no transformation. So the data should be complete data. If you have information or data which is incomplete, it becomes of no use, right? So you have to verify that the data is complete data, and this is done via data completeness testing. Data accuracy and quality testing. This is very important, friends. Or whatever data you have, it should be accurate, and the quality of data should be high. It should be acceptable quality, else the reports or the output which you're planning to get from your ETL system will be of no use, or it will be of substandard or low standard, which again is going to impact. So the whole motto of setting up this ETL system will fail. So data quality tests include syntax, reference, and accuracy tests in order to avoid any error during business process. So when I say business process, the final output, whatever it is doing, final reports, analytics, business information which is to be generated, they should be accurate as per the business, as per the actual business taking place, and this will happen if your data quality and accuracy is high standard. It includes different kind of tests such as syntax test. It will report dirty data based upon the invalid characters, character pattern, incorrect upper or lower case order, etc. Again, there is other test which is a reference test. It will check the data according to data model. For example, customer ID data quality testing includes number of check, date check, precision check, data check, null check, etc. Accuracy test. It is done to ensure that the data is accurately loaded and transformed as expected. So data accuracy and quality testing is very important for the final business output, may it be report, analytics, or BI related any output which you are looking for. That data accuracy and high quality is very important to be ensured. Other testing techniques, there are several other testing techniques. For example, you can use navigation testing. Navigation testing is done to check the navigation or geo aspects of the front end and reports. Data transformation testing, tester needs to run SQL queries to for each of the row and then compare the output with the target data. It is time consuming and involves running of multiple SQL queries for each row to verify the transformation rule. Retesting, when you run test after errors or bugs, they are fixed and you retest it. It's a retesting technique. So these are the main kind of testing techniques which a tester has to use as a part of ETL testing when he is performing ETL testing. These are the few main testing techniques which he has to use. But all these techniques we have been talking about, we never talked about the exact stuff which can be automated and which cannot be. I have talked about the several kind of stages, but when we talk to several ETL practices and practitioners, they come up with the concept that ETL testing is very labor intensive and sometimes they find it difficult to automate ETL testing. Okay, now why it is difficult to automate ETL testing? ETL processes don't have screens. I'm not talking about the end result BI results and outputs. I'm not talking about that. Right away from the source till the BI analytics, I guess ETL process, they don't have screens and UI. The conventional QA automation product were designed for screen-based on testing, screen-based testing, and not on the process-based. So we don't have the testers, automation testers, they find it a little bit hard. It's a ETL testing, ETL automation is a new concept. Source data plus transformation provides you the target data. The quality of ETL process is equal to expected data versus actual data. So when the expected data and actual data is validated, then only you get to know the quality of ETL process. Most developers are from traditional software development, so they find it hard to work in this ETL testing technology. And now, new to the concept, such as data reconciliation for ETL testing, mix up of Q and QC concept with data quality. Now, data quality and Q and QC are three different things. Q and QC for regular testing can be easy, and the kind of day-to-day tasks what you have been doing is fine. But when you're checking data quality, you have to use some different techniques. You have to do different methodologies. Okay, more or less, it is a part of quality analysis or quality control. I agree. Testing is testing, I agree. But when you test data quality, when you're testing ETL testing, it is a form of testing, but not exactly the same testing what you do for any other mobile app or Windows app or any platform-based UI-based application, right? You have to use different kind of tools. You have to use different kind of methodologies and approaches in order to perform data quality testing. High volume of data, millions and millions of rows. The size of data is too huge. Since the source data and target data could be two different systems, reconciliation is different. So reconciliation of data from the source to target is a little bit different. And this is what makes it very hard to automate ETL testing. But nevertheless, we have new techniques for ETL testing, and there are certain tools, and we have some approaches as well. I'll go ahead and discuss about it more in my upcoming slides. ETL automation testing. So friends, many of you who are automation testers and who wish to grow or who wish to learn a new set of automation, they can look into ETL automation testing. The general methodology of ETL testing is to use SQL scripting or perform eyeballing of data. So when that is done, okay, I understand you can go ahead and do SQL scripting or validating the results by just looking at it and verifying the data set counts, or validating the value from source over destination, and maybe after reconciliation, verifying the data and producing different kind of reports and validating it. But these approaches of ETL testing are time consuming and they are error prone and seldom provide complete test coverage. Since the data set is so huge, so I don't believe you can have a complete test coverage. To accelerate, to improve the coverage, to reduce the cost and improve defect detection ratio, I believe automation is the need of the hour. And that can be done via several automation tools. We have several automation tools in the market which helps in order to get ETL system automated. And we have Informatica data validation, query search, data gaps ETL validator, data-centric testing, and test bench. So we have certain tools in market through which you can do the automation for ETL testing. Feel free to let me know if you need any information on these of the apps, or these are any information regarding these tools. Maybe I can guide you, or you can just Google and you'll get to know so much information about this, how exactly do. There's several other videos wherein people, they talk about it. If you need any more details, feel free to contact me and I'll help you with that. Now, this is a sample architecture wherein we have ETL system, and in this ETL system, where exactly we have the test entry points. I already have discussed in my previous slide. Let me discuss it again here. At the source data level, which is legacy database, CRM, ERP, or finance database, flat files, or XMLs, we have a test entry point which can be automated, taking data from the source data, picking it up, and extraction, transformation, and loading, which is the ETL process, putting it to the staging database. Over here, again, you have test entry point where you can use automation techniques. From there, ETL process is again extracting, transformation, and loading data into target data warehouse, which has data marts. So not only the target data warehouse, but also the target data mart. You have test entry points, and from test entry points, we have BI tools, Informatica, BI tools, or different kind of reporting systems or business decision-making reports, whatever. Over there also, we have a test entry point which can be automated. So in this way, we have different entry points wherein we can use our automation tools so as to automate the ETL process and verify data at different stages. Well, know the reconciliation process or the data quality is working as per the expectation, and whole of this can be done via automation, right? So which makes it a very nice approach if we do the ETL testing. And since the whole concept of automation was that we don't have to do the comparison or testing manually, if we have everything, a tool for it, and we can write certain scripts or we can write certain programs which can go ahead and do this comparison task and validation task, and verifying the expected output is same as the actual one, yes or no, and that can be done as a part of automation, ETL automation. Now let's talk about the ETL performance testing, ETL testing performance. So over here we have ETL performance tuning is used to ensure if an ETL system can handle an expected load of multiple users and transactions. Performance tuning typically involves server-side load on ETL system. It is used to test the server response in multi-user environment and to find bottlenecks in source and in target systems, mapping of the system, configuration like session management, properties, etc. So ETL tuning performance is very important because you have to do performance tuning to ensure that the load of multiple users and transactions is being handled properly, and it is then transferred to the from source to target without any bottleneck, right? There are certain techniques, there are certain steps. How can we do it? Let's talk about it. ETL testing performance tuning has different kind of steps. I have divided into 6 different steps. Let's talk about them in detail. First, the load that is being transferred in production. Find it. Find the load that is being transferred in production, that has been transformed in production. So from the source, whatever load you have to take in and which will be transformed in production, you have to know that load, amount, quantity, size, type, and then create new data of that same load or move from production data to your local performance server. So once you know everything about, you know the properties of the load that is being transformed in production, create a new data of same load or move production data to your local performance server. Then step 3, disable the ETL until you generate the load required. You disable the ETL system and keep on generating the load until your load matches to the actual load from the production. And then take the count of the needed data from the tables of the database, collect the count of the needed data from the database. Note step 5, note down the last run of the ETL and enable the ETL so that it will get enough stress to transform the entire load created and execute it. So where you stop from there, you start it again, but you already have full load on it, so it will be under stress to transform the entire load which was created, and then it will perform it. After the ETL completes its run, take the count of the data created. And then again, go ahead and take the count of data created. It should be exactly matched with the previous one, means in the beginning, whatever you have used. And then on this data which is created, you can go ahead and perform your testing, maybe by automation, to check whether it is accurate and the information is coming correctly and data quality is high quality and it is matching to the source one if it takes place. So we know by the help of automation and performance testing techniques, we can have a very nice way of testing ETL process and ETL systems. Now, with this, we get to know about the different kind of roles and responsibility, different kind of responsibilities that a ETL tester has to perform on day-to-day basis. So if you want to be an ETL tester, please keep this in your mind that you have, more or less, you will have to do such kind of task, or you have to carry out such kind of responsibilities on daily basis. Test components of ETL right away from the data warehouse, data mart, input system, source, and final destination, BI reports, everything, every component of ETL, you may have to test it, execute the backend driven data driven test. So the backend, it is mostly database driven testing, which is backend testing, and data driven testing. You have to perform it, create, design, and execute test cases, test plan, and test harness. You have to come up with your own design and plans and test harness for the kind of ETL testing. Always a new idea testing. I don't know why people find testing boring. I find it so interesting because you always have something new to do. And when you can do something new, either you're increasing the coverage or you're decreasing the effort which is utilized for doing any kind of testing. There's always some kind of challenges. So if you're ready to address those challenges, testing will always be very interesting for you. Identify the problem and provide solution to the potential issues. Yes, just identifying the problem is not about testing. Identify the problem and think out of the box. Try to provide a solution. What could be the possible solution for such kind of problem? Yes, that is a very important thing which every tester should do. And then help in defining the requirement and design specification. Now there's so many different teams involved. They are requirement team, business team, and the design team. So get in touch with them and help them in defining requirement, design, specification. If at all you find any kind of issues, errors, just discuss it with them and try to get it resolved and come up with a better requirement and better design specifications. Data transfer and test flat files. Yes, when we have seen data from source to target is being transferred, so there are several mechanisms, several processes involved in the transfer. Test flat files, which is used as a part of input to the source. Test it, verify it, validate it. Writing DB queries for various operations to be extraction, load, and transformation. You'll have different set of adaptive, deleting, different kind of queries being written and operations being performed. So you have to write different kind of DB queries for various operations. Test end-to-end ETL system. You have to verify end-to-end ETL system. And I know many times testers, they don't have the access to the business users and the kind of reports, BI reports, which are being generated, exactly how is the UI looking. For that, we talked about in our first slide, first or second slide, we talked about the different kind of challenges what the tester can face, understand. But apart from that, whatever you have, the whole system, what you have in place, you have to test it, and you should know how to test it. Plus, you can use different kind of manual testing techniques, automated testing, or performance testing techniques to test such kind of ETL system. And maybe if you take certain, I don't know, it depends on organization to organization. If you have certain courses or you can interact with the business users, you can even get an insight towards the final output, the BI results or the analytical reports which people they produce. So you can even discuss with them and you'll get a better idea how exactly these reports are being presented and where exactly you need to do the kind of modification or kind of need testing technique you need to implement so that the final output should be much more closer to the expected one. There shouldn't be any deviation, because I believe whatever testing you do, and if at all there is a deviation between expected and actual result, then there's some kind of defect or error or bug, which a idle tester should not lead. So try to do your best, come up with different kind of solutions, approaches, not just identify the issues, also try to figure out solutions to them and use any kind of testing techniques, maybe manual, performance, or automation testing techniques. And then I guess you have no stopping, you have no limit. You can do wonders. Okay, friends? With this, we come to the end of our presentation today. This is me, Prashant Kumar, QA evangelist and software testing enthusiast. I'm a computer engineer graduate and PG in management for Harvard University and ICMS Sydney. I have 13 years of experience. I started as a Java developer, then business analyst, test consultant, and finally quality head at a major IT firm. I have worked for various IT firms, investment banks, startup across USA, UK, Switzerland, Germany, and India. Please feel free to connect with me for any QA-related query, suggestion, mentoring opportunity, or consulting opportunity. I do provide help and mentoring services for all those who wish to grow in the field of quality analysis or who are may be a fresher or may be experienced, who is looking for a job or want to grow or do excel in their job. I do provide them my services. You have the link for all my services, and please feel free to subscribe my channel if you haven't done so. And if you like the channel, if you like my video, like it and share it. Thank you, friends. Thanks a lot. See you next time. Bye-bye.